you guys so much for joining us. We have an esteemed panel today, and you have stumbled across the Lady Leaders series. And if you're wondering what the heck I am doing here, because I am not a lady, I am just here to introduce and to make these ladies look even better, which I do a very good job of. So today's topic is incorporating specialty services into your dental practice. And Wilson, my favorite orthodontist, and she's coming to us all the way from Hawaii, and she is the founder of Straight Smile Solutions. She's also our ortho faculty inside the Dental Success Network. We have Summer Kassmel, who is the founder of Castle Peak and Avon Dental Group Coach inside DSN, and she is a wonder entrepreneur. She's an incredible resource for all of the Dental Success Network, and the founder of the GSD Queen, Miss Ashley Hirschfeld. How you guys doing today?
Doing well, thank you.
Uh-oh, am I glitchy already? I'm glitchy?
Yeah, but mine says the same, Mark.
You're slightly glitchy.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm worried about both of you.
Uh-oh.
I know. In the same place.
This is everybody is in the same hotel except for Amanda. How come Amanda's in the middle of the ocean? She's a dot in the middle of the ocean, and she's coming in crystal clear, and we are in Denver, and we are glitchy. The hell's up with that?
I'm gonna tell you my secret.
Okay,
I am
so
not at
welcome
home
everybody,
my kids
and
are stuck on my Wi-Fi.
oh, where are you? Are you at a hotel?
I actually got a hotel. Right now, it's so cheap. I can show you the ocean if I pivoted my thing, but it's so cheap. There's no tourists. So
oh my
the kids will just like be knocking me off constantly during class right now. So
there's Erin.
Look who else joined us. Yay. Also
Hi.
Joining us today is Dr. Erin Elliott. She is a partner at Post Falls Family Dental and Sleep Better Northwest in Northern Idaho. She is an international lecturer on many different topics, but mostly on sleep apnea. Thank you for joining us today, Erin.
Thank you so much. I apologize for the tardiness.
No, it's perfect. This is.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you rolled in just
Okay.
in the nick of time. So with you showing up, Erin, that rounds off our panel, and that just means that I get to get out of here and just watch you guys. But yes, just for continuity's sake, I wanted to make sure that I came on and said hi to all of my lady friends, and I let you guys take it from here. But thank you guys so much. This is going to be a great topic.
You rock, Mark.
Once again,
Thanks,
thank
Mark.
you so much. Once
Thanks,
again,
Mark.
incorporating specialty services into your dental practice. You guys, I can't wait to watch this. I'm going to be at the bar watching this with my headphones on. Take care. Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy your Pinot. Bye.
Yay, Erin, I'm so glad. I'm
sorry.
so nervous. It's technology, it's fine.
Yes.
Yay, I'm so excited, by the way, to have both of you. I have been waiting for this. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Both of you are just such huge amounts of like knowledge and wealth of knowledges of, you know, your different areas. Obviously, Amanda, you ortho, and then Erin, you with sleep apnea. So before I dive in, because I always assume people know who you are, you know, within DSN, give us just a little bit. I know Mark did the intro, but give us a little bit of, you know, intro as to, or, you know, how you got so into straight smiles, and then also with sleep apnea. So Erin, you go first.
Well, if you are friends with me, like through social media circles, one thing you'll soon realize is that I love to sleep, because my husband posts pictures of me sleeping like everywhere, and not pretty. But saying that, it was 2008, I was attending the Idaho State Dental meeting, and there was a sleep physician talking. And I was like, well, this is cool. I want to find out more. Well, as soon as I realized that dentists could be a part of a patient's journey for a better night's sleep, I was like all in. And it clicked with me so much how important the dentist is in this role, because we have so many more touches with our patient. We know them at a really personal, almost familial level, and we stare at airways all day long. Mm-hmm. And it's so cool when I get to be the first one that even mentions this or helps them discover it, because so many people just think it's normal, or, you know, they don't understand that there is options to get a better night's sleep. So I started my journey back then, and it still feels like the wild, wild west, even as it did back then, but continue to navigate it, break down hurdles, barriers, all those things that the medical world seems to put up. Is we like to get patients the help they need in the most streamlined fashion possible. Leave it up to dentists to be efficient.
Always.
Yeah.
Awesome. Amanda, how about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm an orthodontist, so I didn't really I made the decision a long time ago to go into ortho. So, but I do support general dentists wanting to learn ortho. I think it's super important. I believe in access to care, and not all of us can be in a city where there's an orthodontist right on the street. And I think now, even post-COVID, it's even more critical that all general dentists learn some type of specialty services, because access to care is critically important, like I said, and patients may not feel comfortable sometimes going to a specialty office. They already feel comfortable with your office and how things are, and we want our patients to get whatever care they need to get.
Yeah, so awesome. I appreciate that so much in both of you, because it is definitely an investment in time and energy to actually get to that level. So I think that's pretty awesome. One of the first questions, and Amanda, you kind of got to hear the prep, and I'm actually going to get Ashley's point of view here after you guys, but you know, a question that I have for you is, you both work with GP docs, obviously a lot. And one of the questions I had was, when do you know a GP doc is ready to start actually incorporating some of these specialty services? Because now there's 6 docs amongst my practices, and I find that some are really ready. They're going to be extremely accountable. The ROI is going to be high just because of where they're at, either in their career or mentally. Some of them, it doesn't matter if they're 5 years out, they're not going to take it and run with it. So both of you, you know, probably have to help coach GPs as to even if they're ready to actually make the investment with you guys. And then Ashley, after they're done, I'm going to question, you've seen what happens as a side effect of when GPs jump in too soon. You've seen that. So I'll start with you, Amanda.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've worked with all doctors who I think some of them I don't think are quite ready, but they are excited, so I want to support them. Some are definitely ready, but ultimately I think it's just a matter of just finding your groove in your own practice. You know, is your team ready? Is your team excited? Do you have the flow going in your practice? In terms of the actual, for ortho, it's really easy. I mean, you can always take easy cases if you don't feel super ready. If you want to take baby steps, take easy cases. And we can definitely talk about what an easy case is today. I definitely, you know, I love following the ortho threads. I really technology, so that you can see what a lot of cases that people are posting, and some cases are really hard, you know, and some cases are really easy. So yeah, definitely, you should go for it.
Yeah. So really what you're saying, just to qualify, is that for GP docs, there's really almost no time they shouldn't jump in. If they feel like they've got a team, they've got a pretty efficient new patient flow, they've got efficiencies within their office, they've got good team members that they know they can delegate and rely on, it's probably any time's a good time.
Yeah, and I think it's also just getting your scripting down. I mean, don't just do this to make money. Do this to help your patients. Usually the patients are the ones that are going to be asking, like, do you do Invisalign? Do you do braces? Do you do expanders? You know, if you have patients actively asking, and or if you're sending patients to ortho and they're coming back not happy with that consult for whatever reason, you know, either the orthodontists that you're referring to are always recommending 4-by extractions, or they're not doing early treatment. Those are the 2 main portals that I see as a great, you know, opportunity to enter the ortho arena.
Okay, that's good information. Erin, what about you for GP docs?
Kind of this, I mean, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth, but as important as it is, I think, to have the basics, a foundation of sleep apnea, just even how to screen or talk to patients, I think introducing that into a practice of someone that's new is difficult. So when you first get out in your first few years, I think the most important thing is communication, case acceptance, treatment planning comprehensively, and efficiency. Like, we can't do 1 class 2 amalgam in 3 hours like we got in dental school to actually make money. So I think that's important, but at least be able to talk to patients about ortho and know who to refer to. I also think the most important thing is what I even start my lecture out with is start with why, because no matter what procedure you bring into your office, you are going to come across a cranky patient, a case that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, people telling you you shouldn't be doing this. And if you have a true passion for it, and I like to say I'm a good problem solver, I find a way around almost everything that came my way to help streamline. So having a passion for it, obviously. Lastly, is that team in place. Because when you have a team that's like, oh, I don't want to learn anything new, or no, that's not my problem, that's your thing, that's not a good environment. And for everything I do in my GP practice, I have a champion for. Even Botox. Like, I don't load the syringes, I don't constitute it, I don't even mark the face. She does it all. So, and you can see I have a little Botox tragedy right there. I got a little bruise.
Oh no.
Which is okay. But saying that, I even have a social media champion, which means I have someone that kind of owns it, and you need those right kind of team members in place.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Love that idea.
Well, and we're going to actually get to that too, because that's one of my questions too, was about the team, but you know, and really what that looks like, you know, for you guys. But before I do, what are common misconceptions within both of your specialties that you find people have, whether it be more technology is needed, more initial cost is needed, or more team members are even needed? What do you find are misconceptions? Oh, wait, hold. Ashley, I actually, real quick, I get so excited. Ashley, I wanted to, because you work with a gazillion dentists over, like probably 1,000 of us over time. Like, what do you find happens when the GP docs jump in before exactly what they said?
You know what's so funny is you're going into the misconception thing, and that is kind of what I was going to touch on. Not like with regard, I mean, we have some amazing specialists here with regards to sleep and ortho. However, in my experience, with regards to any specialty, someone who's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get into implants. That means I need an insanely expensive CBCT. That means I need to be doing, you know, manufacturing my own crowns and printing, and I need all the toys, and they have no idea what their bottom line is, if they're even profitable, if they can afford these things. So I would say, while I definitely champion the, you know, kind of going for it, I do suggest, and this is just my motto for life anyway, like I'm a fact checker and I have to have the facts down to begin with before I get anything jumping in. Ask Mark, like I don't even like signing on any type of loan until we know bottom line. So knowing your numbers and making sure that, you know, this next step is going to be productive for you, and you're not just putting a Band-Aid over a bigger problem, I think is what I have seen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sometimes adding specialty for additional production versus actually ensuring that, to use Mark's, you know, little analogy, is like, make sure there's not holes in the bottom of the bucket to start with. So exactly. Adding bigger stuff when you don't actually have the baseline, you know.
Yeah, and even purchasing this specialty equipment that you might not necessarily need. Dr. Erin Nicholas teaches a course on 1 hour molar root canal buildup and crown, and you don't need an endo microscope to do molar root canal buildup and crown. So it's kind of about doing your research and seeing if the, you know, you need that shiny piece of equipment in this moment for your basic procedures that you're going to be getting started with. Yeah, that's what my suggestion.
Well, and that leads to probably some of the misconceptions they're both going to get into. And I know Amanda had a really great post for everybody, if you haven't looked in the ortho room, of really exactly what's needed, like what tools you need in your toolkit. And it's so minimal as far as investment. But going back to the misconception comment, is that kind of where you would go, Amanda? Is a lot of times people think the investment's high?
Yeah, they do. I mean, I think it would be better if you had some type of intraoral scanner, just because the quality is just so much better of the aligners. If you're doing aligners, if you're doing indirect bonding, you know, it would be better. Everything will just be more accurate. I think it's getting to the point where everyone's probably going to get one at some point anyway. So it's just another reason to get one, you know. A panoramic x-ray, I think, is also really important to have. There's so many hidden teeth that sometimes you miss in an FMX. So I think it's super important, and you don't want to be running teeth into teeth that are hiding, you know. But besides that, no, you don't have to have a Ceph. You don't have to do that type of cases. If you're obviously doing growing kids, or, you know, airway things in kids, sleep disorder breathing, then yes, I would have a Ceph or a CBCT with a bigger plate. But otherwise, no, that's really all you need. And you can start, if you can look at the little blog I put in the DSN ortho space, but basically you can start with aligners with basically no tools. You don't need anything. And braces, I think I've got the investment down to about $1,500 if you want to do straight wire. So not too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, and I attended your class for straight wire, and you made it extremely easy. So yeah, I was blown away. That's a misconception I actually had, is that straight wire was going to be so much harder, and it wasn't. You made it really easy. So
and you've done aligners before, so this is like easy. You know, it's the same thing. So
yeah, I was surprised though. Erin, what about you for misconceptions or investments that people think you need?
Well, first, I do want to add on to that. I think straight wire is beautiful to have in your practice because it takes compliance away. And so I was in a aligner case, never wore them. I've seen so many dental professionals with buttons still on their teeth years later. So I like having the straight wire, just for, you know, for especially fine tuning. So with sleep, there is that misconception of having to have technology. I hear that all the time. Like, I'm getting my cone beam now, I can finally do sleep. I'm like, I did sleep for, you know, 8 years, I think, without a cone beam. Now that I have it for my general dental practice that I use for that, I will utilize it for sleep, but you don't have to have it. It makes me better, but I was doing fine before that. The other thing is that you have to have a fancy tool to find the starting position and all those things. Really, I say that the minimal investment is a course, but also a home sleep test unit. Even if it's like out loud in your state, you'll want, and out loud is, I put in air quotes on purpose. I think it's important to use to make sure the appliance is effective, to help bring your patients to a place of awareness. There's controversy over it. I'm just going to dispel that real quick, because in our practices, I hope to God we're all taking blood pressures, right? In our practice with our patients before we inject them with epinephrine. But we are not diagnosing hypertension. We're simply showing the patients that they might have a problem. And I think as soon as patients can stop denying it by seeing what happens when they sleep to their airflow, to their airway, all of a sudden the ownership is there and they're willing to finally do something. So the sleep test unit I use, the one that I recommend, that I get no money from for selling, I use a separate company for that, but it's about $2,500, and I think it's a powerful tool. But other than that, you know, I teach under the 3D dentist guys, and so it's a little bit of a misnomer. You don't actually have to have 3D to come to, you know, that class. You can do sleep without it.
That's cool. Okay.
Oh, also the misconception, I was focused on technology, is that medical insurance is hard, medical insurance doesn't pay, and that's what prevents so many dentists from doing it. Also, it may cause a bite change, or what if it doesn't work? Do you give the patient their money back? I'm like, oh man, we're thinking like dentists, right? It is actually medicine. It just happens to be a dental solution. So we have to get those kind of thoughts out of our mind.
Yeah, that's funny, because actually I'm like, as you just said that, those are the ones I have always heard, is like, well, we're going to change their bite. They're going to be grumpy. You know, they're going to be mad that we change their bite. But if you set that expectation probably to start with, that could happen, then my guess is the patient can breathe better, feel better, sleep better. And some of the bite change is a moot point to that level.
No patient has ever been mad at me, and it doesn't happen on every patient. But that's my informed consent. Is the good news is this is not a pill and it's not surgery. So they that identifies with them.
You can always stop if you don't like it, you know?
Then every single time there's a bite change, that a dentist sends them back. The patient never even noticed. It's their dentist that said, you need to go back. I said, okay, let's stop using it and go to CPAP. And they're like, it doesn't bother me. So
totally.
It's not a big or obviously I try to prevent them, but it's not a game stopper or anything like that.
Love it.
I do too. And
Your
by the
dog
way,
is super cute, Erin. I saw it walking through. I
Get
wanted
out of here.
I know. I was like, we hear dogs. I'm like, I'm sorry. I think you guys heard people in the hotel, but it's just real life. So real quick, and actually, Amanda, you kind of already did this also on your ortho blog. Obviously, a lot of people came here thinking, or who are going to watch this, who are thinking, okay, I'm ready to get started. I have the team. I've got the $1,500 for ortho. I've got the $2,500 to get the sleep study. Where do they go from now? Like literally, what's the lineage of, you know, and as Ashley said, they feel comfortable that they have a really good foundation. There's no holes in their bucket. Where do they go now, Amanda? They're ready.
Yeah,
they're ready to get started.
Anyone that's a DSM member, and I'm assuming anyone that's listening to this is a DSM member, they're welcome to they get a complimentary consultation, like a setup session with me, as well as they get help on a case. So any case you want. And if it's not a good case, then we'll punt it and we'll find you a good case, you know, but we'll help you screen the case. We'll help you set the case up. Doesn't matter if you want to do some type of aligners, a branded aligners, a not branded aligners, you know, braces, phase 1, expanders. We're glad to help you. So please do a lot of people have, you know, taken us up on the offer, and I think we've helped a lot of people out. But yeah, I mean, let's just talk about I think the main thing is just thinking about the demographics in your practice. I would only focus on one solution initially for ortho, you know, so from the 3 buckets we talked about, whether it be aligners, whether it be braces, or whether it be phase 1, most people will pick either aligners or phase 1, depending on what. But some people, if you're in a very rural area, I've seen braces and straight wire just take off. So you got to think of what's your gold nugget, you know? So, and then offer that solution, and then you start on that solution, get good at it, and then you can start adding more solutions as you go. Otherwise, you're going to get really scattered if you try to do too much at one time.
That's a super good piece of advice. So pick one, aligners or straight wire, but know your demographic. Okay.
If you're keto,
yeah. Okay. And then Ashley, I'm sure that we can put a code or something for them or some way to be able to find Amanda as well.
The link.
Workspace.
Yep,
yeah.
She's in DSN Workplace. I actually kind of wanted to tack on to that. It's funny you said that, Dr. Wilson, because I grew up in a very rural area, and we had to drive 2 hours away if you wanted to get braces. And so I can, like, if only, you know, these rural docs would consider that, I think that that's a huge, huge value add, and something that would be.
I've had a few that have done it in the last year that are like super rural, like, which is something I just can't quite understand because I've always lived in a big city, but you know, like they're like, I don't even have to market for it. They just come in, you know.
If I had a dentist in my town, my parents would have got me braces there, I think. So I think that's an amazing little piece.
And they don't care if you're slow or, you know,
they don't know the difference.
Thankful they don't have to drive, you know.
Exactly.
So yeah, and nowadays with indirect bonding and all that, you don't have to know how to place brackets because the computer's going to place it for you. You know, the main thing is just pick a good case, you slap it on, you light cure it, and you just go through your wire sequence, which we can help you understand. And as long as you pick a simple case, it's like literally just happens. It's easy.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And Erin, what about you? So somebody's ready to get started. What does that look like for them timeline wise?
I really do think it starts with a course, right? Foundations of Sleep. It's a whole new language. We basically break it down into 4 parts. The first is creating awareness in your practice. And it doesn't matter if you're rural or in a city or suburbs, everyone, not every one of your patients, but every practice has patients with sleep apnea. So learning how to talk about it. The second part is diagnosis. So that's understanding sleep testing, working with the local medical community. The third is the financials or medical insurance or even payment plans if you decide not to offer medical. It always blows my mind that people are willing to spend, you know, $5,000 on straightening their teeth, but not $2,500 to potentially save their life. So there's a disconnect there that I think we have to overcome. And then lastly is the treatment. The treatment is the easiest. It's the most like dentistry, I should say. Of course, there's nuances. So I get asked all the time, what appliance should I use? And I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter if you don't have a patient to put it in. So kind of understanding the basics of entering that medical world and what the workflow looks like. But I do tell people, like, it's a slow brew. Like, I know at the course, people are like, oh my gosh, everyone has this, we're going to kill it. Then they go back and realize that, you know, It's not dentistry. It was much easier to introduce implants into my practice than sleep, because that, you know, dental thing, even ortho is part of the dental workflow. So tell patients or tell people to be patient. I like to do goal setting with them so that they're a little realistic about case acceptance and payment and return on investment. So you do have to give it some time. But once you get it, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got to plant seeds in your patient's head when they come in, you know, and just basically education. This is something totally different that they don't know about. So just slowly plant the seeds.
A lot of
and
denial.
I'm assuming you do sleep screening forms and stuff.
You know, it's not, to me, it's not about the forms. It's about the hygienist assistant or myself starting the conversation, identifying the symptoms. So the forms, I feel like they kind of fill out half-heartedly.
Yeah, no, you have to explain the why behind it.
Why does my dentist care? Yeah. And then, so from the hygiene exam, we do send them home if they want to do a consult. But sometimes it's like after 2 years, they're like, remember when you've been hounding me? Well, I finally have a girlfriend and she's complaining. Like, you never know when those seeded plants are going to actually come to and grow. So be patient.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I've seen in my own office, one of them where one of my associates actually took the course, and you're exactly right. Like, getting the team on board, getting the dialogue, it really is kind of a different language, and patients aren't used to that level of sophistication, I think, in their exams. It's like introducing, you know, 3D scanning just to the normal new patient flow. It really is something that they're wowed by, but a little bit like, what are you selling me? Almost suspicious. So you're right. It is definitely like a slow thing to get into versus ortho is something people are used to thinking about, I think. So
yeah,
I've definitely noticed that as well. So one of the, you know, the things that we discussed was getting your team on board. I'm assuming, you know, in both areas, you know, most practices have somebody who wants to champion it, but what if you don't have that real strong front runner person? Is it bringing them to the CE? Is it like, what are you looking for to get those team members or the right team member on board, excited and motivated? Amanda, what do you see?
I mean, I think ultimately, if you don't have someone in your team that's excited about ortho, something's wrong with your team, because they're always psyched about ortho. It's so much easier. It doesn't hurt your back. You know, it's very, can be almost in some states fully assistant led. Like, there's almost nothing that besides the diagnosis and the treatment planning, that the doctor needs to do in a lot of states. So it's great because it's like, even if you're busy doing something else, the cases still proceed and your assistant can drive the bus. So, and a lot of it can be done remotely through virtual check-ins, virtual consults. You're going to love it once you get going with it. So, I mean, I've never had an experience of a team that wasn't excited about it, you know, unless you have a really rotten team. And if so, you need to replace your team.
Yeah. What about you, Erin?
I think that, again, owning that home sleep test and sending it home with every team member and their significant other is pretty important. So because they'll discover things about themselves and connect the dots, and they'll tell their patients about it and have that personal connection. As far as which team member becomes that sleep champion, I'll tell you, when I came back, I didn't want to burden my team members. I didn't want to give them one more thing, but as my age has gotten older, so has my, like, not patience, but I'm just like, this is how it is. You know, I've kind of learned to be a little bit more of a boss, I guess. And so getting the team on board is not hard if they have a personal connection to it or they don't have a choice. As far as the sleep champion or that person, I actually waited for someone to kind of ask me, because they wanted to kind of, you know, it was an assistant, so they wanted to progress beyond a chairside assisting. They wanted to kind of set their own schedule and have some freedom there, and physically, they kind of like that too. And it's not always that lead assistant that does everything. Sometimes there's a diamond in the rough, and if they have a personal connection to it, I think that really, really makes a huge difference. They like the autonomy too.
Yeah. I also kind of want to throw that question back to you, Summer. You know, like, tell us about your experience and what that has been like, as far as adding these in, and what that, you know, what that has looked like on your end too. What's it like? What's been I guess, surprise diamond, and what's been the biggest challenge?
So what's funny is that's what I was thinking, is when Erin was saying that, is the people who championed it in my office between, I do the ortho, somebody totally stepped up, just like Amanda said. I didn't have to fish for that one. The sleep apnea, it was not necessarily who you think. And actually I feel very strongly, like with my team, I like each one of them to have the opportunity to champion something. I don't want my lead assistant or my lead hygienist to be the one who champions everything. I love giving everybody an avenue to excel, because then they want that autonomy and that level of accountability. They actually want it. And so I have found that it's easier to incorporate, for sure, especially when you have great teams of accountable people who want that level of, you know, what's next, because most people want to grow. They don't want to stay stagnant. So I find in my teams, they've really enjoyed adding in the different specialties, because all the docs kind of have their own specialties. Like we have a sleep apnea doc, we have an implant doc, we have a surgery doc, we have an ortho doc, we have, you know, and so it allows these team members to kind of rally around what they are just truly passionate about. So, and I agree with you, as I've gotten older, it's not really a question of like, do you want to do it? It's it's like, this is what we're doing. It's so exciting type thing. Yep. So, and Ashley, what's funny is I was going to actually throw the question back to you. Where do you see that it fails with team members?
I think, yeah. And I think it's in that exact, thing. Like, doctors coming back and just throwing it at someone who is unexpected, and just like, then it's another thing I have to incorporate. You know, I love that idea, Dr. Elliott, about, you know, sending that sleep device home, and then everyone's just like, it kind of gives them a different level of that as well. And, you know, with ortho too, if you've experienced it before, you're more likely to take it on and own it. Like I had ortho, and it completely changed how my mouth is, of course, you know, and how I eat, and how, you know, kind of changed everything for sure. So I think the challenge is just throwing it at your team and expecting them to own it without leading them correctly. I think that there is a good way to go about it. What am I trying to say here? Like, instead of just being like, oh, who wants to do it? I mean, I think there's a blend in there between finding the right person and not being, you know, kind of like, hey, this is what we're doing. I think there's a good balance in there, and you can find that right person. So I think that's the biggest thing, is just expecting that your team's going to run with it, especially if you're throwing things at them constantly. So I think it's just about, like you guys said, finding that right person who's going to own it. And sometimes it's not who you would expect. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. I have a question actually for any of you that maybe, and I get this question a lot, and you guys might have a better answer than me just because I'm a specialist office, but a lot of doctors ask me, well, should I give ortho to my team for free to get them on board? Or what happens if they leave? How does that work? How would you guys recommend going about that with ortho or sleep or both, to someone who's just getting started? Obviously, we want them to get, you know, the team to get on board, but, you know, there's a small risk to that too, because we want them to feel like they, you know, I guess they own part of it, you know, they value it. If you get it for free, you might not value it. So what do you think?
Erin?
Oh, I would chalk it up to a learning experience. I think dentists are very, very good at thinking of all the what ifs and not all the things that could come from it. For example, home sleep test. Every class I get, what if a patient doesn't bring it back? I'm like, that has never happened in the history of home sleep test. So what if an employee leaves? Okay. She probably wasn't the right team member, and we got to practice. So all is good, you know, and what are you out truly? If you look at the cost of it, you're really not out a ton. So
that's what I was going to say too, is just, you know, it's the experience you're going to get. It's kind of like a practice, right? And then, yeah, like I think the benefits far outweigh.
And it's probably not going to happen.
I agree. And I tell them, let's use your team, or if your team members already had braces or aligners, then maybe they could be your kid or their spouse, but have them sign a social media waiver and use them to help build your social media for that. You know, at least that's something you can, if it's a good case, then, you know, benefits you too.
Well, and I can say, because I've done Invisalign on pretty well both teams, like 30 some people of my teams, I think, have been in it at some point. One, just for everybody, if you do use Invisalign, they have every single year a staff fee that costs like $3.99 or something, and they, you can use that on one team member per year if you're worried about the cost. Because I do understand that. I have a lot of docs who are like, initially, I think the very first tier of Invisalign is like $1,800 for the lab, and
$1,863. Yeah.
Is it now? Holy smokes. So, I mean, I can understand to some degree if they're like, gosh, what if, and so I've told doctors too, that if you want to wait until after they've been there a year, that's when you can do that big case. If you don't have that staff code of $3.99 or $5.99, Amanda, I can't remember what it is to treat staff, but I can understand that level. But to some degree, I have to admit, I've had some really amazing team members that just proved themselves within 6 months. I knew they were staying. I chalked it up to, I want them in it because they sell tons of cases when they're in it, especially hygienists. They have sold so many cases just because they've had it and they've been so happy. So
you need to hire some crooked teeth hygienists then.
I know, right?
Actually, everybody needs to hire hygienists right now. So
you go, look, I'm wearing it. Pop it out. What?
Yeah.
Maybe I should just get some aligners just because.
Oh, no, we've done that for people.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, totally.
You just put them in some Vivera or some retainers, and they're like, "Look, I have it." Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I've totally done that. But like, just stay in retainers at least or something. So.
Yep. Wear your retainers to work as much as you can.
Yep, exactly. So I think I had one more question that I wanted to ask too about. Oh, yes. So. Amanda, you were talking about delegating out to the team, and I think sleep apnea is very similar, like titration of appliances and things like that over time. But correct me if I'm wrong, one thing I've seen with doctors, and maybe it's just my experiences, is that sometimes things get delegated out too quickly because they see the dollar signs, like, yes, if I do Invisalign, I can just slap them in there and like the rest is the team. And what I find is sometimes that's just leads itself to actually having horrible case turnout, and then people abandon ship. When is the right time per specialty? Do you guys find, that it's okay, you've done this many cases, or you got this level of control over it, or efficiency or profit margin or whatever, now you can start to delegate it out?
I don't really know if I have a number necessarily, but I mean, first of all, the doctor needs to understand it, because ultimately it's the doctor that's going to have to explain the treatment plan. So if the doctor fully understands it, gets it backwards and forwards, then you should be able to train up your team member enough that you can at least keep an eye on them. Because I mean, you're still responsible for what they're doing. So if things don't go well and they say something and you're not watching them, it's your license. So just like anything else. But I mean, legally in most states that I know of, I mean, most components of, from putting on attachments, so even if you do indirect bonding and you approve the treatment plan ahead of time on the computer, then the staff member can put the braces on. You just need to check it. So it's pretty easy. It takes kind of like time.
It's so even in sleep, it's like you go check the impression, we do the bite and all that. It's like as soon as you are checking it and not having to make any changes.
Yeah.
It's kind of
after a few times
start to trust them. Yeah.
And hopefully they're going to come to you if they have a question too, and then sometimes you're going to have that patient that you could tell has a little mistrust and they want you to do it, so sometimes you're going to still have to do it. But
you have to give your team the freedom to not fail, but just be able to without any sort of like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Freedom.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, and I was going to say, that's usually mine, by the way, Erin, is when I always go in and do my check after they've done the procedure. And if I don't find that, like, it may not be exactly how I would do it, but if I don't have to make changes to it, then I feel good. Like, okay, you've got it pretty well down pat. And I've actually been pleasantly surprised. I have my lead Invisalign assistant. Legitimately, she is better at stuff, I think, than I am. I'm like, she's so darn good. I'm like, I come in and I'm like, not only is there nothing, but like, I think this is better than I could do. So,
all my assistants are better than me at this point. They're so much faster. Anyone's ever worked with. I mean, there's just, when you're like 20, 25, 30, you're just so fast, So,
she is, and that's her too. I'm like, she's so fast with all the scans and all the technology. She's amazing. So
I know. Rather have her do it than me do it. I'm more clunky at this point because she does more than I do. So that's
what I say to patients.
I know. I'm like,
she's more gentle.
I I know, it makes us happy and it makes them feel good, I think, too. So awesome. Well, you know, to conclude this, obviously we are in the Lady Leader series. So my feeling is I should probably ask each of you who, you know, both are women bosses, you run businesses. Tell me something that you know now that you wish somebody would have told you being a lady leader in your first 5 years. And I'm sorry to have thrown that question at you because it's one of those of like,
go Erin, go.
I know. Please.
Woo.
I know. What do you wish like that younger self that got into this, you know, you were probably more timid, you were, yes, you know, slower, less accountability, took more upon your shoulders. But what do you wish, can you think of something that could help the women lady leaders out there, you know, like what would have been a helpful piece of advice that you wish?
One is embrace who you are. We were called to be dentists and just, you know, we happen to be moms and wives and dentists. And so I feel like we play so much of that comparison game, especially because we're probably pretty driven and type A. So holding yourself to the standard of perfection in all of these roles, I would just tell myself to embrace how you were made. It's okay to want to work, and and you're a good mom. And so I actually have, I never really had mom guilt. I kind of had guilt. I felt guilty about not having more mom guilt. But I just want to say, just give yourself some freedom to embrace who you are. I don't do Pinterest or bake sales or anything like that. And I'm totally proud of that fact.
Girl, I'm not crafty either.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I buy it from Etsy.
Yes. It's okay to be who you are.
Y'all create beautiful smiles.
Yeah. The second is, I thought this was super pivotal for me, or like a revelation. I heard it from my friend Ryan, who reads all those business books, but he had someone in the audience Google the word nice. And if you were to Google the word nice, it literally says ignorant and stupid. The origin of the word nice, the etymology. It says stupid and ignorant. And what I realized is, not that I have to be mean, but having to be liked all the time, or being nice, or I just want to be friends with them. I love my team members. We are like a family, but they always call me Dr. Elliott, and they love that I hold people accountable. They like it better when I am more of a boss. So I think those are the two big things, is the forgive yourself and embrace who you are and stop being nice.
Man, and you know, you might get called the B word sometimes. It's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes that's how it is. If you're a leader and you're a female, you get called a few names, but I mean, just own it. And as long as you know that you're a kind person, ultimately, you know, it's all good. And just remember,
they all know. Yeah.
You can form your own hours. There's a lot of things you can do to make things go your way, so it's smoother for you and your team. And if that means, if you're not a morning person, then work afternoons and evenings, you know, and see your kids in the morning. Or if you're not an evening person, then work mornings. So make the schedule work so that you can enjoy your life. I think it's the main thing. We picked dentistry for a reason. Enjoy your life.
Flexibility. I do have to say, I have an associate who joined us a couple years ago. She's like my soul sister. She's very good friends with Carly Schneider as well. So I just got to spend some time with Carly. But saying that, Dr. Kelly, and I make sure to call her Dr. Harness with the team, she said at all my other offices, I was their friend. And even though I'm not an owner here, she does kind of have that, like, they feel safe with her and come talk to her, but she's not so involved with their lives that she can tell them those things that they might not want to hear. She has a good balance of that. And that's a hard balance to find, honestly. That's where I struggled, I'd say.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ashley?
Oh man, I feel like, I mean, you guys have so much more wisdom on me, I feel like, but I think that to echo that as well, which is one of the challenges I struggle with the most, is to stop caring so much about pleasing people. and about others' opinions of you, right? Like that's something I know that as women we all struggle with every day.
But
probably.
it's so hard.
I know, right? I know. So that's something I am in the midst of learning and embracing more as well, actually.
Turning 40 really helps.
Nice. It's creeping up more than I like.
Happens to the best. So yeah, mine is right along the lines, which is stop apologizing. And that's that I find that as women, we tend to preface everything with an apology. I'm sorry to ask if you can set my tray up right. You know, like telling your team what you need, I think is actually the kindest thing that you can do. Makes your job easier and it makes them feel better about their jobs. And I think that women have a really hard time just asking for what they want without having to apologize ahead of time. So I completely am with you guys on that one. And I totally agree with you, Erin. I literally love what you said about I had more guilt about not having mom guilt. I was like, because I was kind of that person where I was like, well, but nobody's telling me no. So like, why can't I just keep driving for what I want and still have family, you know? And I think that there's just this sense of, and I've said it before, of like trying to be martyrs when nobody needs us to be martyrs. And I think being a model for our children by being able to be driven and actually be smart and challenged. And I think that's something that I know my kids have actually commented on enjoying seeing, actually, that their mom does these kind of things. So I think there's this level of guilt that we sometimes put upon ourselves or society will put on us. And I don't know if it ever has to.
We're playing that comparison game and we don't need to do that. That's why I said so my son, when he was younger, I have 2 teenage boys. So I get a little bit more freedom because they're more independent, but my son did an impersonation of me and I thought it was so funny because he's like, dental stuff. Hey, I know you. Because I see so many people I know in the community and all that. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, that pretty much boils it down to I love dentistry and I love people. So there you go.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, I want to kind of conclude it. Ashley, anything else, by the way, before I kind of conclude with what we're all going to be doing in November?
Oh, I thought I was concluding with that. Either way, I'm stoked to introduce it as well. Yeah. So we have you amazing ladies on this webinar right now, and you all will be involved in a virtual event in November, which is Women Dentists Connect, which is going to be fantastic. I have the roster here. We'll have Kira Dent speaking, Dr. Mila Cohen, Dr. Wilson, Dr. Elliott, Dr. Desiree Yazden, Gina Dorfman, and of course, Dr. Summer Kassmel is one of your hosts as well. And yeah, do you want to touch on that, Dr. Summer?
Yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. Amanda was there actually last year as well as one of our speakers. And it's really just, I mean, obviously, like, I just love female empowerment and everything we just kind of concluded with. I love giving that level of business acumen and, you know, also just a sense of balance, if there is such a thing for women. I love putting that into an event and making it super supportive and kind and helpful, and where all questions are completely fine. I do find sometimes women have a hard time asking some of those questions, especially business questions or really deep clinical skill questions. They just have a hard time asking them. And as Amanda can attest, last year people were asking everything, and it was
so comfortable, no matter what your age was, what your skill set was. You didn't even have to be a dentist, you know, as long as you were somewhere in the dental field. We had all kinds of people involved there, and I'm still friends with so many people I met. I was really, hopefully you're gonna have like a real in-person one, no COVID next year, but
I know,
it was great. Yeah,
I know. So yeah, so it is November 13th and 14th. It's all virtual. There's CE that you'll be getting, great speakers. We're so excited. I think even Mark Costas might make an appearance there too. And so, yeah, we would love for everybody just to go to Women Dentists Connect and just check it out. It's for doctors and their team members. So like Amanda said, it doesn't have to actually be doctors. You can bring your entire team to get great CE in specialty things, in team building things, in, you know, all things dentistry. So yes, it's just so many loves all in one place, and we're really excited to be hosting it. So even if it's virtual, it's still going to be pretty awesome, because breakouts will even be, breakouts can actually occur virtually. I didn't realize that. So
yeah.
And we won't share the code here because this might be on Dr. Kassmel's podcast, but if you're a DSN member, you get special savings too. So look for that in the Lady Leaders group. And if you are not a DSN member, be sure to join for your 45-day free trial and get that code as well.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Ashley, always thank you for all you do for these things.
Thanks,
We appreciate
Ashley.
it.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you guys. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you, Erin.
Thanks, guys.
See you in 2 months.